Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and I want to welcome you to day 11 of 11 Days of Global Unity that we have been commemorating since 9/11, September 11th, and the 20th anniversary of that horrific event in New York that took down the World Trade Centers and attacked the Pentagon 20 years ago. And now culminating on September 21st, which is the International Day of Peace. We are very, very honored to be co-producing these 11 days from the point of view of Humanity Rising and Ubiquity University and the now over 400 organizations that comprise Humanity Rising with We the World, and with 11 Days of Global Unity and the Sign Network. It's been a marvelous 11 days. We've covered all the main challenges confronting the human community, ranging from the environment to justice, to human rights, to freedom, to young people, to women, to democracy, disarmament. And we now come to our grand finale. And in order to commemorate this day, the International Day of Peace, we're bringing for the first part of this program today, which will be in many layers and many iterations over the next 4 or 5 hours. But we wanted to start with our youth from around the world. The youth are the carriers of humanity into the future. They are coming of age at a moment when we find ourselves in code red and in a situation of escalating ecological turbulence all around the world. The last 18 months, as we've all, every single one of us, have traversed the pandemic, wave after wave of the pandemic that doesn't seem to be going away. And yet we must persevere and we must regenerate. So the young people are the tip of the spear. And today it gives Rick Ulfik, who's the co-founder of We the World and 11 Days of Global Unity, and I and all of our partners, real pleasure to bring Masterpiece, City Transformers, the Hague Center, Peace Pop-Ups, and scores and scores of other organizations that are working on the International Day of Peace. I think at the heart of everything that we've been doing over the last 11 days is to bring together an awareness of climate and the need to regenerate our world with the awareness of peace and the need to be in harmony with each other, and more broadly, in harmony with nature. Because in the end, we are nature. And at this critical hour in the human journey, we must remember who we truly are and come back home to nature and consecrate ourselves to creating a world that we would be proud to leave to the children 7 generations from now. And the youth of today are the carriers for that. So we want to honor the young as we start our final day of 11 days of global unity. We're going to start with some music. Instead of a meditation, I thought we would just start with a musical centering for the next 20 minutes or so. And so I would like to turn it over with deep gratitude for all of you who are coming to make this happen today to Emmanuel Jal. Emmanuel, welcome to Humanity Rising.
Hi.
Final day of 11 days.
I'm really grateful to be part of this moment. And if it's possible, can I be made a host so that I can do some performances? You know, probably I'll do with because we don't have the mic, so some of the songs.
Okay, I just give me 1 second and I'll get you there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, fantastic. So I'm now a host. So what I'm gonna do is, because the sound system may not allow me to do it, but I'm gonna do a spoken word in one song. And probably today's International Day of Peace. So basically I'm gonna do the anthem, the peace song, We Want Peace. And so, and whatever you are, if possible, you can stand up and let's do this peace song together, or you can just do it whatever you are. And then I'll do a spoken word. All right. So let me make the audio. I'm gonna put advanced audio so that you can hear and feel what I'm feeling here. So I'm set up now.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I'm looking for some people who's looking for peace. Maybe together we could make the war cease. Now we can send mankind to the moon, and we can reach to the bottom of the sea. That's why it's really kinda baffles me that we cannot end wars and bring peace, and we cannot change the way people act, and we cannot change the way people think. So if we sit back, chill out and relax, civilization will soon be extinct. That's why I am. I'm calling on the whole wide world. Come on people, would you help me? Let's scream and shout, cause we want peace. To say the least, I dedicate this song to the common people caught in the middle of this common evil. I wish the world was a little bit better. Time to start looking at the man in the mirror. Fear is the devil's policeman. Fear they could demonstrate with Hitler so he can feel a war of genocide and lava was weekend. Lighting up the land cause nobody was speaking. That's why I am. I'm calling on the whole wide world. Come on people, would you help me? Let's scream and shout, cause we want peace. To say the least, somebody said after Rwanda, and after Rwanda, and not far from Rwanda, who's gonna shout for the poor people living in Darfur? The world gone deaf, the world gone blind, the world busy sitting down on the behind. Nobody cared about the poor and the needy, too busy sucking up to the rich and the greedy. For every hero there's a villain. I am kidding, we gotta shout standing out on city. One more time, we got no more time. We gotta figure out the way that we can all combine. Like Jericho, the world comes tumbling down. The sound of voices out the city surround. You know what it's worth, gotta put our voices to work. We gotta shut down heaven and earth. That's why I am. I'm calling on the whole wide world. Come on people, would you help me? Let's scream and shout, cause we want peace. To say the least, come on everybody, come on. Stand up, stand up, stand up. You want peace, and I want peace. Stand up, stand up. You want peace, and I want peace. Stand up, stand up. You want peace, and I want peace. Come on everybody, come on. Come on everybody, come on. Let me see your peace sign. Let me see your peace sign out there. My dreams are like torments. My every moment. Voices in my brain of friends that were slain. Friends like Lual who died by my side of starvation. And the burdened jungle. And the desert plain. Next was I, but Jesus heard my cry.
as I was tempted to eat the rotten flesh of my comrade. He gave me comfort. We used to raid villages, stealing chickens, goats, and sheep, anything we could eat. I knew it was rude, but we needed food. And therefore I was forced to sin to make a living, forced to sin to make a living. Sometimes you gotta lose to win. Never give up, never give in. Left home at the age of 7. 1 year later, I leave with an AK-47. By my side, slept with one eye open wide. Run, duck, play dead and hide. I've seen my people die like flies, but I've never seen a dead enemy, or at least one that I've killed. But still, as a wonder, I won't go under. Guns barking like lightning and thunder. As a child so young and tender, words I can't forget, I still remember. As the sergeant command, raising his hand, no retreat, no surrender. Forced to sin to make a living. Forced to sin to make a living. Sometimes you gotta lose to win. Never give up, never give in. Yiddish. I carry the burn of the trauma. War child, child without a mom, still fighting in the sun. Yet as I wake this new war, I'm not alone in this drama. No sit or stop, as I reach for the top. I'm fully dedicated like a patriotic cop. I'm on a fight, day and night. Sometime I'm doing wrong in order to make things right. It's like I'm living a dream. First time I'm feeling like a human being. The children of Darfur, your empty bellies and the telling us you that I'm fighting for. Left home, don't even know the day I'll ever return. My country's war-torn. Music I used to hear was bombs and fire of guns. So many people die that I don't even cry anymore. Ask God, question, what am I here for? Why are my people poor? Why and why? When the rest of the children were learning how to read and write, I was learning how to fight. It's snails, vultures, rats, snakes, and anything that had life, I was ready to eat. I know it's a shame, but who's to be blamed? That's my story. I want to share 2 parts of my journey in this special day. And these 2 parts of my journey inspire me. I was born in South Sudan. My country was at war with itself during that time. And that war reached the core of my family. So all my aunties died during the war, all my uncles except 2. By the age of 7, my father gave me out and told me I'm going to go to school in Ethiopia, where we had to walk hundreds and hundreds of miles. Within that war, it took the soul of my village. It took my mom. It took everything away, what is important in my life. And after I arrived in Ethiopia, that's where I got trained, and that's where I became a child soldier. What I want to share now is what are the things that kept me up to today. I know each and every human being will go through a difficult time. And in my understanding, what I know is suffering is essential and dispensable for our growth. And when we don't find a meaning in our suffering, we exist to suffer. The part of the journey I want to share now is the lowest point I've ever been. The spoken word I did, we're between 200 to 400 young people, and we plan an escape. And we're told that the journey is going to take us 1 month, and it took us 3 months. When we took off, when we ran out of food, we applied basic soldier skills. So basically, we could eat anything we could find. We arrived in a place that was really dry. There was no water, so we drank our own urine. I remember as a kid, the thing that helped me was the ability to use my imagination. I always say to myself, I want to stay alive so I can be part of a solution. I want to be among the people who are going to change what wrong that has been happening. I want to be among those people. And I would stop and imagine myself in the future. Sometimes I imagine myself as a pilot. I don't know how it is inside a plane, but I see planes flying from the sky or dropping food from the sky. And I would imagine myself inside the plane and see how it is. And it gave me so much joy. Sometimes I would imagine myself either as a teacher or as a doctor. Sometimes I would imagine myself as a general. I've risen up in rank and I have thousands of soldiers. And I would imagine, how does that look like? And through that imagination, it allowed me to escape from the moment that I am in. So as a kid, I discovered two things. I discovered when I experienced extreme challenges, I came to realize my mind could imagine the future in the possible negative way. And that terrifies me. It sucks away my energy and it doesn't give me any morale or any motivation to move forward. But when I imagine my future in a positive way, what it does, it motivates me to look to the future and move forward. And so with those two things as a kid, those are the things, those are the tools I hang on to. You know, I hang out mostly, I spend most of my time imagining the future in a positive way. And sometimes when I imagine in a negative way, it's to see what could be wrong, but I'm more optimistic of looking at what's good in the future. I remember in this part of the journey, there was a child soldier that was with us. And he was left under a tree and he was told, we're going to come and pick him later. And 50 meters as I walk away from him and others, he picked his gun. It was a G3. He cocked it and fired the bullet in his head. And he collapsed. His skull left open. His brain was seeping out. And I looked at the young man who was collapsed. I was not scared. I was not afraid, but I understood why he made that decision. The biggest challenge I faced at that moment was he planted a seed in my head. And he planted a seed in my head as I was walking. That seed was telling me, Jal, why don't you do as what this young man did? Why don't you do like what this young man did? And the way I was able to battle it is I said, I'm going to be a part of a solution. And I want to stay alive. I want to meet my brothers and sisters. And I was able to access my imagination in a positive way. And that gave me energy to move forward and allow me to battle the thoughts. So I continue moving in this path. My left toe was cut like this. Now, every time I make a step forward, it was paining. So the journey now became more intense. It became more challenging. And our numbers were reducing. Some people were ending their lives. I was starving. I was dehydrated. I was exhausted. My body's in pain and my left toe was hurting. And I tried to battle the thought. That thought came back to me again, telling me, Jal, you've suffered so much. Why can you let go now and rest like what that young man did? Now, in this point, one thing I discover, I know each one of you has their own moment where you are alone in in a room, the whole world is crushing you. Some things in life, we all only ask and face them. At this moment, I try to see if there's anything I could find in my past that can motivate me in that moment. So I started looking at my past. It was just ugly memories of people dying, of my village burning, of my mom crying, of my brothers and sisters running, of dead bodies. So there was nothing positive of the past was showing. Then I decided, let me see if I can access my imagination in a positive way. And when I look at the future, it was a sea of darkness. I could not see the possibility. I could not see the future. And then I started looking at my present. And the present was my toe was hurting. I'm starving. My body's paining. I'm dehydrated. And I was overwhelmed by that moment. What I came to understand in that part of my journey, when your future, your present, and the past collide negatively at one moment, you lose hope. And at that moment, I lost hope. And the way I lost hope, it was in a peaceful way. The thought came back to me and told me, Jal, you suffered so much. It's time to rest. I don't know if anybody was looking at me or anybody or anything, but I just stopped still and I closed my eye. I took a deep breath. I opened my eyes. I tried to cock my gun with my right hand. It was so difficult for me to cock it. So I used my foot and I cocked the gun with my foot. And I closed my eye and I fired the bullet. The bullet failed. The bullet did not come out. And I stopped still there. I didn't know whether I'm alive or dead until a pain started coming. Slowly by slowly, I could hear it. I could feel it. And then there was a voice accompanying the pain. And that voice said, you are here for a reason. And I picked that voice and I repeated it. I believe I've survived for a reason. And for that reason, I'm going to stay alive. And I repeated it over and over and over and over. I was possessed by those lines, those words, when I was repeating them over and over. They became a mantra. They gave me new life. I felt like I died and I came back to life. Just having an assurance that I'm in this world for a reason, and looking around and looking at everybody, every person in this world is there for a reason. That belief that I'm here for a reason and I'm going to be a part of a solution ignited. And I was able to access my future in a positive way. I was able to imagine the future in a positive way. So I was able to access my future in a positive way. And that gave me an excitement. So I made my first step. The pain was there. I made the second step. The pain was there, but I keep on repeating the mantras and mantras. And eventually, that day, those mantras became the painkiller. And I discovered something new that I can move on with life. The ability to say something good to yourself, the ability to talk positively to yourself. The conversation of positivity journey began on that spot. And to understand the power of repeating one word over and over to yourself in a positive, that you get possessed by it. Literally, I could no longer feel the pain in my body. I slept so well. I found energy to move, even though before I didn't have energy, but having that motivation from within just charged my body, I was able to move. Now we arrive in a different area. In this area we arrived in was a place full of water, swampy ground. Before, no water, but now there's water. And as we move in this water, mosquitoes were swamping at us. Mosquitoes. You don't even have time to just swipe them off. You allow them to settle on your hand, on your face, any opening. And then you wipe your face slowly by slowly. And when you see people or the other soldier, it looked like we had a sword battle. So there was blood in everybody's face. In these waters, when somebody falls, all you could see is bubbles. All you could see is bubbles. There's a child soldier in front of me. He fell in the water. And the bubbles were showing up. A bigger soldier tried to catch him and pull him out. They both drowned together. They drowned in a shallow ground. And as I watched two people dying in front of me and I did nothing, that made me feel so bad. Negative thought flooded my head. You are a coward. How can you let your comrades die in front of you? You're standing still. You did not move. Okay, the other soldiers will know. You just stood there and watched people die. And I felt really terrible. And by feeling really terrible, it gave an opportunity for the thought, the previous thought that made that young man in his life come back to me and tell me, Giles, this is it. You can no longer take this. It's time to rest. The difference is I challenged that thought immediately and I said, I'm going to stay alive. I believe I've survived for a reason. And for that reason, I'll stay alive and I'm going to tell these stories. I'm going to tell these stories of this soldiers. I'm going to tell the story of my journey. The greatest thing is when I repeated those lines, they gave me an assurance and they charged me again. And the place when I feel a little bit of positivity, all I do is try to imagine the future in a positive way. Try to find a path that I can have a peace ahead of my life. How does the future look like? Even having it in a way that if I'm ending, I'm going to end in a peaceful way as the nature wants it, not the way I just end myself. And so I end up surviving that part of my journey. But the way it happens, through the imagination, as we're standing in this water, because I like to sit down and imagine the future, a question came to my head and told me, Jao, you're always imagining about how you want to be a part of a solution in the future. You are right now in the moment. What can you do right now? What is it you can do now? And I said, what is it I can literally do? Another question in my head told me, why don't you eat that tree? And if you don't die, share it with the rest. I went, picked the leaves of the tree, ate it. I did not die. I shared it with the rest. And then all of a sudden, my perspective opened. A question, why don't you eat those snails that are floating in the water? If you don't die, share it with the rest. I went and collected snails. I roasted them and others joined. Those vultures that were eating dead bodies, we shot the vultures. I was then a sharpshooter first. I would aim at a vulture and my bullets are going blank. But there was another child soldier who was really good. He would just aim once, shoot the vulture, and I go grab it and I eat it. Nobody want to eat the vultures. But when I ate the vultures, they saw me 2 days, I'm not dying. Others started joining, eating the vultures. And so what happened here, what I came to discover is that beliefs can close our eyes. Some of the beliefs we had, close our eyes. We were dying in the midst of plenty. There was so much around us. But because we didn't believe in eating snails, scorpion, or certain trees and other stuff and other little tiny animals that were showing, we could not see them. And so, but also beliefs can also show us possibilities. What I want to show here is I exercise the same thing in pandemic. I'm a musician, I'm a recording artist. Our main income is live performances. You know, all streams, everything's shut down. You're in lockdown, you cannot move. And I ask myself the same simple question. How can I be a part of a solution right now? And those little steps, incremental step of action that I did to be a part of a solution opened me new possibilities that I was able to explore that allow me to survive in the pandemic as an artist. And I want to pose this to you who's listening. When was the last time you used your imagination in a positive way and it was able to show you possibilities? When have you ever believed in something and that thing, you went on and pushed it and made it happen? And so all of us here are united that there's a possibility that this world could have peace, or each one of us is walking in their purpose to make this world a better place. And there are many challenges our way. All I could ask you is, can you use the power of your imagination and believe and make those incremental steps to transform your life? Now, if you look at my past, you could see I came from the bottom like a lobster, and now I'm rolling on the top like a rock star. You know, this is the life. Now I'm a recording artist. You can see I'm traveling. I like to go to schools, colleges, and universities performing. Some of the good things that happen is I created a charity called Go Africa. We put kids in school. I acted in a movie with Reese Witherspoon, as you can see, and there's other stuff. I have 6 albums out there. Now I'm becoming an entrepreneur. All of this is imagining, you know, how can I create systems that can bring income that I can use to support the work that I do? And here I am. I'm still imagining and believing that I'm here for a part of a solution. So I want to end this moment with a song. We're going to dance. We're going to dance right now. So if possible, I would like to see faces. I want to ask you, if possible, turn your video on. I want to see your faces. Everybody's hiding their faces. To make it more beautiful, how would it look like if you can turn on your video so I can know I'm talking to faces? Awesome, thank you all. And I want to see real human faces. So this is awesome, this is beautiful. So I want to take you to a journey of mine, which is we're gonna do a dance. So we end it in a positive way, if you don't mind. Some of the coolest thing is I'm gonna show you an easy dance. So I'm gonna probably make myself, how do you call spotlight everybody so you can see me all. So I want to show you all a dance. So I want you to stand with me. Come on, stand up, get off your thing. So we go together like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cha 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 cha. 1, here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 we go, pop, 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 pop. Then chicken dance, 1, 2, quack, quack, 1, 2, pop, 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 pop. 1, 2, pop, 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 pop. So you all got it. All you have to do is follow me in what I am doing next, and let's have a good time. So I'm gonna share probably the sound right now, so we can share this all together and have a good time. Advanced audio, so it's loud in your end. You're gonna hear exactly what I'm hearing, and we go for it right now.
Angin balang che peluator lam nyambur. I'm playing fresh, I give the best, I build a nest, show success, kindness will clean the mess. She's my royal highness, she danced with me with a massacre, holding me like a baby. I gave my all on mia mia, chakarom yang nia, and ya shoya she find the way, shalwada ya find the way. Nan ma kwa balang a ta do ta sharp she pay my law, and ya shoya she find the way, shalwada ya find the way. Nan ma kwa balang a ta do ta sharp she pay my law. She told me to show her my power. 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 Back it up, oh, back it up, back it up, kamata. Back it up, oh, back it up, kamata. Angan balang che pelwa pot, angan balang che malu shar, angan balang che pelwa pot, lam nyambur. She say tough, my heart tickles. I smile, she start a giggle. Cute her face with lovely dimples. Of course I catch an angel. Spring in, we start summer. Weather gave me a great favor. We took some time, we went for dinner. That's when I became a winner. She told me to show her my power. She told me to show her my power. She told me to show her my power. Back it up, oh, back it up, back it up, kamata. Back it up, oh, back it up, back it up, kamata. Angan balang che pelwa pot. Angan balang che malu shar, angan balang che pelwa por, lam nyambur. Anyagalo ase aroke, she say so. Nyakurbol say aroke, she say so. Melissa say so, Sarah say so, Amina say so, Abukeng say so, Shira Shiko say so, Nyapurnyang say so, Mula say so. Anyagalo say aroke, she say so. Nyakuti say aroke, she say so. Nyapurnyang say so. She told me to show her my power. 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 Back it up, oh, back it up, back it up, kamata. Back it up, oh, back it up, back it up, kamata. She told me to show her my power. She told me to show her my power. She told me to show her my power. She told me to show her
Thank you. Thank you. That's it for now.
Thank you, Emmanuel. What an extraordinary thing, Emmanuel. Your journey embodies regeneration at a level that I don't think I've come across for some time. I mean, just think about it, everyone. He started as a child soldier in the Sudan. And he's now a world-class musician living in Toronto, Canada. I mean, what a journey, my friend. I just want to salute you, Emmanuel. You embody the human spirit in a very deep way because you experienced what no child anywhere should be condemned to experience. And somehow you intuited and navigated your way with a cunning, I would say. I mean, just learning to eat what was not even thought of as food and staying alive and keeping your creativity. And I just, all your crises you turned into opportunities. So, Emmanuel, I just want to acknowledge you, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to acknowledge who you are and what you've become as a young man. It's not insignificant, everyone, what we just heard. I just want to acknowledge it. It grieves my soul what we do to our young. It grieves me. And so I don't want to take more time, but brother, I'd like to do anything I can from Ubiquity University to offer you a full scholarship to study in any way that supports who you want to evolve into. And I would love to have you back, on Humanity Rising as part of our Global Regeneration Corps, which we're launching with the peace pop-ups and so forth. So thank you. Thank you. So now, everyone, we're going to segue into a panel discussion and hear from other young people from other walks of life who have been part of the peace pop-ups. And before we launch in, I just want to especially thank Bente Milton, who's been just a tireless campaigner for all things good over many, many years and developed the City Transformers and has been so active in so many domains of youth empowerment. Bente, I just want to thank you and acknowledge you, and Art Boss, the founder of Masterpiece, that has been working with young people all over the world in matters pertaining to peace and reconciliation and human renewal. We have some real pure spirits amongst us. And Ragda El-Halawani, Ragda was there in Egypt till the Egyptian government shut Masterpiece down. She's ended up in the Netherlands, and she's one of the heroes. Ragda, you're just one of the heroes. She's been tireless and put this whole thing together that we're experiencing this morning as we bring 11 days to close. And I just want to acknowledge you, Ragda. There's just so much goodness in the world that if we could only unify all the goodness out there, what a world it would be. What a world would it be. Let us pray that we're the last generation that condemns our young to be child soldiers. They should all be dancing in the streets. So I think I'll start the panel. There's about a half a dozen with them. I see Ash Pachari, who is another wonderful, brilliant spirit who I had the pleasure of meeting very recently. He's the son of the great Rajendra Pachauri, the founder of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. One of the great human beings of our time, because it was Dr. Pachauri that forced humanity through science to take seriously climate change. And they just issued their 6th report saying that we are now in uncharted, unprecedented territory, which the Secretary General has said means code red for humanity. And Ash, after a very successful career, a PhD, and working for McKinsey and Company and all kinds of professional engagements, is now dedicating his time to furthering his father's work by creating climate activists through the pop-ups. And so, Ash, it's a pleasure. And the question we're asking everyone to contemplate for a few minutes is, the question really centers Kate Rayworth's book on donut economics. And that is, what can we all do to create a world that works for everyone, in which human thriving is contained and informed by natural systems and constraints. And our dedication is not to strife, not to war, not to exploitation, but to give to each one according to their need, and from each one according to their gifts, for a community in harmony with itself and in harmony with nature. So Ash, I'll tee you up first. Take a couple minutes and just tell us your answer to this noble question.
Thank you so much, Jim. I'm so grateful to be together with you here. And I want to thank you and all the amazing people we're so blessed to be together with today and every day for your beautiful hearts. And I just want to say that today's beautiful experience, Jal Emmanuel, thank you so much for sharing that. I just want to say that, and I'm going to quote as Mahatma Gandhi said, and you underscored just now, Jim, an eye for an eye only ends up making the whole world blind. I think it's really important that we understand, and we've had, years of all that's landed us where we are right now. It has been about, the gaining for oneself, the competition, and the dog eat dog world, unfortunately, that we've sort of developed all around us, and we call it progress, sadly, but it's not. And I just want to say that, your work, for example, is really about collaboration. This whole space we're able to share here today is about collaboration. And I just want to say, I think the important thing is that we understand there's a space for everyone. And if you think back historically on the moments that have changed the course of history, it's really been about things like we experience right now. It's been when people have got up and told their stories. It's been when we've been able to sing and dance and tell our stories. Earlier, it used to happen before we had Zoom and all the rest of it. It happened around fires. People would get together and sing and dance and tell their stories. And that's how movements have happened. At the pop movement, where pop stands for Protect Our Planet, we're a movement that's focused on bringing the 1.8 billion youth of the world together to take climate action. But what I want to say is that, all of these issues are really linked, and it is about understanding that even though we're focused on young people, youth at the forefront of this, because yes, youth are going to be the most impacted by the consequence of climatic changes. But also the fact that young people have the ability to influence change at many different levels, including in their schools, among their teachers, their neighbors, their parents, their communities. And I think it needs to be embracing of all. I think the important thing is that we understand there's a space for everyone, and being inclusive in our responses is critical. One of the reasons we even formulated this Sustainable Development Goals was because it was intended that no one gets left behind. And I think that if we can keep this value and this principle really close to our hearts and understand that there's so much to gain and learn from indigenous knowledge, from the people that we are so blessed to share this planet with, not just people, but every single species. And you underscored the fact that we are nature. Indeed, we are. And the planet doesn't really need us. We need the planet. And I think the most important thing is that we understand that there's a place for all. And as the Dalai Lama said, the planet does not need more quote unquote successful people. The planet desperately needs more peacemakers, healers, restorers, storytellers, and lovers of all kinds. And that's really what it is. If we're able to magnify and expand the love, the care first that we all know about, which is key to being able to make progress and do this together. But the important thing is for us to define that progress. And I think that that's most important. At this point, I think we need to be able to embrace that loving, caring, healing, spreading peace and happiness, and the many values that sadly we've left behind, which have resulted in, the disparities, the wars, the situations that Emmanuel shared with us. But I think we've got to rise above, and we've got to start to embrace the values that are critical to truly making progress. And this is important for us, our future, generations to come, but is critical in every effort that we make to protect our planet and all its species. Thank you.
Thank you, Ash.
Thank you.
It's such an honor to be in your company, brother, with everything that you're doing to ignite youth around climate at this critical time. And we look forward to future collaboration as we have been discussing. I'd like to now introduce Matthias Scheffelmeyer. He's on the board of Masterpiece. He is the co-founder of Change Exchange. And he has extensive experience with Ashoka, one of the great organizations in the world that has been empowering entrepreneurs of all kinds over many, many years. And so, Matthias, welcome to Humanity Rising, and give us your thoughts for just a minute or two on what we can do to ensure a world that works for everyone.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Ash, and especially Emmanuel. Very touching story, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm really a servant to all the young changemakers and social entrepreneurs out there that would be even better placed to speak about these things, but I want to share maybe a couple of thoughts with you. Changemaker Exchange is a community of nearly 1,000 young social entrepreneurs, activists, and changemakers who make it their life's profession and purpose to bring about positive change in their communities and countries. And we as a community really envision a world where everyone can be part of inclusive communities, where people come together to co-create the future, and where they co-create activities and action towards the well-being of people and planet. And maybe I can share with you 2 or 3 examples of the extraordinary achievements of these young people, and then end with a quick thought and maybe request. I want to shed a light on Lefteris Arapakis from Greece, for example, who, seeing all the dirt and the plastic in the ocean and the Mediterranean, has started training over 1,000 fishermen along the shores of Greece to not only fish, but also at the same time pick plastic from the oceans. And he's collected over 140,000 kilograms of plastic and waste from the Mediterranean, turning them into t-shirts and socks that he sells to generate money to fuel the mission of his nonprofit organization. And it's just wonderful to see what happens when people, as Emmanuel put it, can kind of imagine that positive future and then act on it. Or Milena here from Berlin, where I'm based and speaking from, who created the first completely zero waste supermarket in Germany, and one of the first here in Europe, and now has inspired over 100 of these supermarkets across the country, really showing us that you can do things differently. Or Nyeke Egbe from Cameroon, who created Peace Crops, which is an initiative to use agriculture to bring people together, especially orphans and people who have been in conflict regions. Now, to end my 2 or 3 minutes here, I want to share something with you which I find to be one of the greatest injustices when it comes to young changemakers. And that is, together with a coalition, including Masterpiece, the Obama Foundation, Unison Youth, Unleash, Global Changemakers, and many other youth-focused social entrepreneurship organizations, we studied the needs and challenges of young changemakers. And what we discovered is that nearly 60% of them have experienced burnout or symptoms of being exhausted. We have a huge well-being crisis with our young changemakers who put everything they can into making a positive change. Over 60% of them can't live of their ventures and their activities, so they can't compensate themselves for this work, even though it is their key profession. And more than 60% juggle various responsibilities, family, other jobs on the side. So not just are young people and children and marginalized communities most affected by the systemic inequalities in our world, also those that then stand up and do something about it, they face another injustice, which is that we as society don't value it, don't fund it, don't support it, don't give them spaces to truly put their imagination into reality. And that's, I think, what I want to leave you with here today, is that we should really unite and put ourselves at the service of future generations and the planet, and do everything that we can to overcome it, because they have the solutions. They're out there. There's millions of young people who have creative ideas. It's about time we create systems for them, and spaces and communities and support infrastructure that truly unleashes what this generation could do for the world, and could do for us, and could do for themselves and the planet. So they're out there, but they need our help, I think, is the two messages that I'd love to share with you today. Thank you, Jim.
Matthias, I think you just hit the nail on the head, my friend. The young people understand. They know what needs to be done. They're ready to do it. And yet they're not resourced sufficiently, either through what they're doing as a vocation or through other means, to actually put their lives where their heart is. Exactly. And that's something that I think about every day. And one of the commitments of the Global Regeneration Corps is to provide the training that they need, essentially as a scholarship. But we're very active in trying to raise the money so that we can actually resource the young people, to pay them a living wage. To do what needs to be done, because if they could be unleashed between now and say 2030, just imagine the difference that would take place in our world. So you're making a very, very profound point. So thank you for that. I'd like to now introduce Taras Jubansky from the Ukraine. This activist has been involved in religious ecumenism, bringing the world religions together. So Taras, you've taken on a very steep challenge, because there's probably been more blood spilt in the name of religion, particularly in Western civilization, than any other single cause. And you've been working there in the Ukraine. You founded an organization called Libertas, and deep ecumenism. So love to have your perspective on how we all work together to create a world that works for everyone.
Thank you so much, Jim. And it's a privilege, it's a joy to meet everybody here virtually. And of course, greetings to Ragda and Art, with whom we have been working for a long time now. we've known each other. This is how we connected to you, Jim. So it's a huge privilege for me to be here virtually with you. Let me share my screen also because I have a short PowerPoint presentation. I hope you can see the slides. Okay, it's working, yes. So again, on behalf of the John Paul II Center and the Libertas Center, the organizations that I represent, these are organizations that work for in the field of interfaith or interreligious dialogue. And religion today has an ambiguous stand. A lot of people say that religion is not good. A lot of people say that religion is bad. It's good, but actually, statistically, there are about 80% of the population, of the world's population, who somehow identify with religion or some kind of spirituality. So I think religion, when it comes to important talks, religion should be taken into consideration. And oftentimes, my own work is considered interreligious peace building. Of course, you can do peace building without ever have to do with any kind of religion or spirituality, but you can never do interreligious dialogue without doing peace building. So always, if you're involved in any peace building activities or interfaith activities, we try to say that religion is important. And let me give you just a couple of reasons why we think that religion is important and interfaith dialogue is important. Now, first of all, religions are the sources of values, inspiration, and hope. Second, most religious teachings and religions, they emphasize the transcendence of human beings. Now, we are not just a body, the material body, but we are also a spirit. We are also a spirit, that needs some kind of connection to higher values. And thirdly, interreligious dialogue is also a chance to include, to create inclusive narratives about the other, because through interfaith dialogue as a tool, we include Muslims, Christians, Jews, Buddhists, whatever you name it, any type of religion or spirituality. And also, fourthly, why interfaith dialogue is important is because it's also an effective way to resolve conflict and to build peace, because religion engages people at the level of their deepest beliefs and feelings. I would just like to mention one document which is very important in the Catholic Church, Pacem in Terris from 1963. And in this document, the Pope John XXIII, he mentioned a couple of things that are important for peace building. First of all, he said about the growing rights of workers, human rights, then the role of women, the advancement of women, the spread of democracy, and affirmation that war was not the way to obtain justice. Again, I'm representing the John Paul II Center Leaders Network, and the center, which is based in the heart of Rome in the Vatican, one of the oldest Catholic universities. Now we have about 120 people around the world, women, men, and a lot of young people who always promote interfaith dialogue in their local communities. And just 4 points I would like to mention from the encyclical Pacem in Terris. We should move beyond this negative peace to a just peace. Of course, the goal is not just to end wars, but to rebuild social relations that have been broken. Also, there is the importance of partnerships. And I think through interfaith dialogue or ecumenical dialogue, partnerships can be established with different players who are religious in nature. And also, in interfaith peace building, there is a special emphasis on healing, forgiveness, reconciliation, and regeneration, which is the theme of this meeting. Also, I'd like to quote what the Pope says about peace. Peace is but an empty word if it does not rest upon an order that is founded on truth, built on justice, nurtured and animated by charity, and brought into effect under the auspices of freedom. So all of these things are important for interfaith peace building. And at the end, let me give you a few examples of some projects that we do with our center, with our network, that promote peace and understanding through interfaith dialogue. Here you can see a picture of the people who took part in the School of Interreligious Journalism project. So we brought people from Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and they tried to work together on how to fight fakes and promote truthful narratives on social media. Another interesting project is in Bangladesh. We had a sister, she organized a training for female Catholic students, empowering women through interfaith dialogue. Another project which is ongoing is called the Intercultural Interfaith Digital Caravan, we bring people from different religious traditions, to work on the peaceful narratives in the areas of conflict. We had an interfaith tour of Jerusalem, bringing Christians, Muslims, and Jews together to find out about the history of the city. And finally, this is the latest project we did. It's the interfaith coloring book called Interfaithing Humanity, where we have people from different religious traditions depicted. And this book will be disseminated to the children of schools and colleges so they can spend good time, leisure time, learning about the other and promoting peaceful narratives in their societies. Thank you so much, and I'm really happy to be with all of you.
Thank you, Taras. Thank you so much. Deep ecumenism is an essential, it's a cornerstone of any notion of peace in our time. So thank you for everything that you're doing. I'd like to now introduce Rob Shorter. He's from the Donut Experimental Action Lab. The question around creating a world that works for everyone was taken from Kate Raworth's Donut Economics. So Rob, this should be an easy question for you to answer. But take a few minutes and share your thoughts.
Thanks, Jim. Wonderful to be here. And it's incredible that this is the question that has anchored this week. How do we meet the needs of all people within the means of this unique living planet? And it's one that we are so delighted an emerging community of change makers around the world of all ages are questioning how they bring that into their everyday. I was just loving dancing along with Emmanuel Jal's music just now. And the words you said, how can I be a part of a solution right now, is at the tip of everyone's tongue. And what we're trying to do isn't just create a new solution. We're trying to bring about a new paradigm. We're trying to change a world that is anthropocentric and just focused on the individual to one that transcends that. It recognizes we're all interconnected with each other and the natural world. We are a part of the living systems of life. So how do we do that? And the amazing systems thinker, Donella Meadows, says the greatest leverage point is to change the paradigm. And how do we do that? We can do that in so many ways. And one way I invite you to do that is simply by starting the conversation. Have the conversation around what it means to be deeply embedded with the living systems of the world, with people you're at school with, at work with, part of your family, your neighbors. And it's not just being attached to a simple one-off solution. We are living in a time of unprecedented change, climate, ecological breakdown, huge social change that comes with that, and other things as this young sort of species on this planet, the latest species on this planet, just learning what it means to live in peace together, that we need to recognize it's not about a one-off solution, it's about changing the way we think so that we can adapt to our changing circumstances all the time. So I will just leave it there and invite you, amongst other things, to take an action in the next day or week or month. And we published today the wonderful lecture series that Jim and Ubiquity University invited Kate to be a part of. I've just posted that in the chat. 4 introductory lectures to donut economics. And it was the first module of the Pioneering Masters in Regenerative Action. And that's now freely available to everyone, democratizing education to everyone to be able to watch these videos that go from the initial concepts of this diagram behind me all the way through to the pioneering change makers who are putting these ideas into practice, including how you have a conversation around a donut. So I'll leave it there. And yeah, thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Wonderful that you've uploaded that course that Kate did. It was a splendid course. And if you haven't read it yet, everyone, Kate Raworth's book on donut economics, I believe, is the seminal economics book of our time and is the answer to Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, written back in 1776. Kate Raworth in Donut Economics answers Adam Smith and takes economics into a future that works for everyone. And so it was a privilege to have her inaugurate our Masters in Regenerative Action with the fundamentals of donut economics, because in the end, it's all about the donut. It's all about the donut. Everybody loves donuts. You think of the inner circle as human thriving, and the outer circle is the planetary systems and constraints. It's that simple. If we would just implement the donut, we would have the answer to the question that we seek of how to live harmoniously with each other and with the larger ecosystem. So Rob, you're working for a great organization, the Donut Experimental Action Lab. Well done, man. Well done. We now want to turn to Christiana Disignati, who started her career in banking and finance, did a lot of work in that regard, and then woke up one day and decided it was not the complete answer, and she went into humanity and the arts. That was probably the best decision you ever made. And she now finds herself in Athens working with the Community Art Network. And so she's going to bring that perspective as she provides a perspective on our question for today on how to make the world a good place for everyone. Christiana, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here, and a special thank you to Art and Rachta and to Emmanuel for his inspiring story. So in the Community Arts Network, the answer is the arts. In Cannes, we integrate art as a fundamental component of social change. And this is because we believe that the arts and their multiple qualities have the power to help us deal with today's challenges, which are complex and interconnected. Because arts can make us dream, see, feel, and move. And the youth play a major role here because young people dream more, and the world they are reimagining is the world they will actually live in. And young people are willing to move and chase their dreams. So I'm imagining what youth and arts can do together. But thinking of the question of today's assembly and the donut economics, I would say that in Cannes, we are trying to build a network of artful change makers, which could be a separate part of the social foundation. But at the same time, we want to bring the arts or showcase the power of the arts inside each of the sectors of the social foundation, and always with respect for our nature, which can also be empowered by the arts. So one of the key partnerships for impact we have identified is Arts for Democracy. And I would like to give you an example of an art project which celebrates peace and community building and showcases the transformative power of the arts. And it's called the People's Bus. And it was developed for the New York City Civic Engagement Commission by our artist in residency, Yasmani Arboleda. And the People's Bus was actually a prison bus, and it has been transformed with input from New Yorkers into a beautiful mobile community center. But to be honest, I think Emmanuel is also a great example of a person who now is using arts, music, and poetry for healing and for imagining a new world. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christiana. Art is the ultimate revolution. And so you're on the frontier, even though to many people in the world, it's on the margins, it's actually at the center because art is what curates beauty in our lives. And without beauty, life has no meaning. So thank you for everything that you're doing. We now turn to our final presenter, Talia Smith, who originally came from South Africa, now lives in London, and is involved with initiatives for change and has worked literally all over the world in seeking to empower local communities to bridge various divides and develop social cohesion. So Talia, welcome, and you'll get the final word.
Final words. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for having me, and a big thanks to the organising team and all the panelists today. Real privilege to be with you all. So yeah, as Jim said, I work with an organisation called Initiatives of Change. It's a peace building organisation working in 45 countries for coming up to 100 years now. And I want to share with you a little bit about our approach, because it hasn't changed much in these many decades of work. And our core practice is based upon Mahatma Gandhi's dictum of being the change you want to see in the world. We've all heard this statement, and I'm sure can resonate to it. So believing that if you want to see peace in the world, to start with your own family, believing that if you care about the environment, to start looking at your own patterns of consumption and waste. And then we talked about earlier, everyone being connected. Rob mentioned that. And that's the Ubuntu philosophy that says, I am because of you are, and that we're all connected with each other and of course with the planet. So individual change is a concept we work with a lot at Initiatives of Change. And we're all change makers on this call. So I think we've all gone through our personal journey of personal change and coming to be a change maker. And it's really the driving force of change in communities, and that moves then to changing society at large. So I think to never underestimate even our journey that we've done to become a change maker, because it's part of making that world a better place. Also part of our approach to peace building that I want to share with you is to take time in silence for reflection and figuring out what's next. We work with creating a space for sharing life stories. We talked about dialogue earlier, deep listening, shared core values are so important. Also recognizing historical wounds and how you can resolve them for a community to move forward, and equipping people and young people with not just the practical skills needed to build trust and to build peace, but also the inner qualities. Because once you have the inner qualities and those skills and the action together, that's when you can really build peace and trust across deep divides. And interesting, a survey by the International Committee of the Red Cross found that almost half of millennials think that a third world war is likely during their lifetime. Now, I was shocked when I read that, because I thought, positive change makers. But I think it's within this context that honouring Peace Day and every day really is critical, as we need this time for all of humanity to commit to peace, which is above each and our own differences. And each one of us is needed to think creatively and collectively about how that we can help everyone recover better, build resilience, and transform our world into one that's more equal and just and sustainable. So when I reflect on how to meet the needs of all within the boundaries of the planet, I'm reminded by another quote from Mahatma Gandhi, and it said, the world has enough for everyone's needs, but not everyone's greed. So I'll end with that as the final words. Thanks so much.
I think that's the bottom line. We have enough for everybody's need, but we don't have enough for everybody's greed. So that's a beautiful final word, Talia. Thank you so much. And thank you all for your contributions. We're a bit pressed for time, so we don't have the bandwidth for an extensive discussion. So I'd like to now bring this particular part of the overall program to a close by turning it over to Archai for a final musical presentation.
Hi, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be with you today. There's so many folks we could thank for this opportunity, from Masterpiece Ubiquity University, but I think we wanted to give a special shout out to Christina and Community Arts Network, an incredible network that empowers and connects communities through the arts to change the world. And that's something that Philip and I really, really believe in. We all have gifts that make us unique, gifts that we can use to give back to this world. For Philip and I, it's the gift of music. And so during difficult times, we look to the power of music to bring people together, to build collective understanding and empathy, to heal, and also to tell stories that reflect our common humanity and the hopeful future that we want to see. And so that's what we hope to do through this next tune that we're about to share with you, an original of ours called Letters from COVID. And I'll let Philip tell the story here.
So at the beginning of quarantine last year, when Jonathan and I, like so many of us, went our separate ways for those several months, we're here living in New York City. During that time, we were disrupted so much. All of our concerts were canceled. All of our plans were put on hold. And on top of that, we weren't able to continue making music, to compose and improvise like we normally did. But we wanted to still write something artistically to express the moment. And so what we ended up doing, because Zoom also did not cut it, as I'm sure many of you can attest to. So we took our phones and we recorded little audio snippets, little ideas, and we sent them back and forth to each other. These audio letters, if you will. And by taking those ideas apart, we were able to put them together to create this piece that you're going to hear. And so you'll actually hear in the second half of this work, it almost sounds like a choir or a group of people joins us. And those are those original audio letters. And as we're talking about peace and bringing people around the world together around these common goals, I like to think that even in this time where so much has been broken apart and scattered, that we can still find ways to come back together collectively, recognizing the hardships that have happened, but also looking for the beautiful and hopeful moments ahead. So we hope you enjoy Letters from COVID. One moment while we find our violin. So one of the joys of live performance is the improvisation that naturally takes place. So Jonathan is exchanging a battery on his electric violin. And so maybe I can actually just share while he's doing that what these instruments kind of represent to us. So as artists during COVID and during the lockdown, we were trying to think a lot about, well, in the midst of where all the things that are normal, right, all the things that we held on to as kind of security and safety, as all of those were suddenly stripped away, and there's this kind of fertile ground of chaos. Like, what can we do that's constructive in that time? And so that's where we turned, and we looked to these new instruments. You might see that it's kind of shaped like a traditional string instrument, but also very different. And these almost serve as kind of representations of that evolution out of these COVID times for us, kind of taking the opportunity of the time we had and the space we had to explore something that would allow us actually to emerge from COVID with something completely new. And so you'll hear throughout this piece that even while we're playing these kind of like our normal wooden instruments, the sounds that we create are completely different. And for us, that is kind of a new palette. It's like for our whole lives, we had been becoming masters of colored pencils, and now suddenly we're painting in 3 dimensions, and we're painting in neon. So we hope that these instruments also, just by their very nature, maybe inspire you to think about what are the things that that maybe can evolve in this time, while we're still limited in a lot of ways. But where are the places that we can continue to grow and look for new possibility? I think as artists, that's what we're always striving to do, is to take whatever the situation is and to create something out of that. All right, I'll check in with the man and see where. All right, we're still going with batteries. All right, so while he finishes that up, I'm actually going to start the piece as we were just talking about improvising in the moment, taking the things that are given to us and rolling with it. That's part and parcel of our journey as artists, and I think as humans. And so I'm gonna start some music for us, bring us into Letters from COVID, and then Jonathan will join when the instrument is ready. Here we go. I hope you enjoy Letters from COVID.
Bravo. Bravo. That was magnificent, guys. That was magnificent. Well worth the wait. Thank you so much. As we transition now to the remainder of our program for 11 Days of Global Unity, I think Amanda Sabri summed up our session so far. She said that the session today shines light on the incredible gift of human imagination and creativity. Through a manual to archive, thank you all. And I would include our 6 presenters. This has been splendid. I can't imagine a more dazzling presentation of why we're going to succeed in saving our world, as we've just witnessed over the last hour and a half. So thank you. And for Masterpiece, City Transformers, Peace Pop-Ups, all the other groups that came into play for this performance, thank you. And it occurs to me, everyone, you know, we're going to have an after 11 day sort of party tomorrow night, Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And I'm wondering, Emmanuel and Jason, Jonathan and Philip of Archive, whether you would be willing to join us. You know, Rick Ulfik is a professional level musician. We're going to have some incredible musicians tomorrow for our after party. So Rick, I think we should get Emmanuel and Archive to join. And I don't know which one on your team, but maybe Callum can be in touch with them, because we want to have a really cool after party, and you guys would really be additive to that. So thank you, everyone. This has been very profound, starting with the journey of the child soldier that opened up our program, to the inspiration of COVID music at the end, and the fractals of answers and comments around how do we make a world that works for everyone. This is what 11 Days of Global Unity is all about. So I now want to turn it over to my good friend and colleague, Rick Ulfik. He's the co-founder of 11 Days and been doing it for the last 17 years, since 2004. And before that was the founder of We the World, along with, Bente and Art and Ragda, Ash, all of you, Matthias. You know, he's been working the fields of the Lord for many, many years. And so, Rick, thank you for everything you've done to consecrate this pathway between 9/11 and the International Day of Peace. Well worthy of our time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. And yes, I think that's a great idea. I think Rick Buckley is going to put the link to the after party in the chat here, and you're all invited. We're going to have wonderful folks joining us from that have been part of 11 Days all this time, 11 Days of Global Unity, starting on September 11th and going through today, September 21st, the International Day of Peace. And we're about to start another panel, a peace panel. So I want to bring in Terry Angel. And so first of all, thank you, Jim, in general. We're going to kind of try to rush through what we were doing each day, which is offering scholarships to some of the changemakers from 11 Days and the We the World and our 11 campaigns for change. So I want to say the name of the person who's receiving the scholarship today, Jim. Is that okay? And
yes, please.
The person's name is Abisha Casper Diamini. And Abisha is part of the We Change Agent Network branch in Botswana. Abisha is working with Angelina Habayatsi, who for the past 5 years has been leading her wonderful team working with underserved communities such as single teenage mothers, and they are working on a very powerful program called Unleashing the African Potential. So congratulations on the master's degree in peace and tolerance, Abisha Kasper Diamini. And now, today on our Day for Peace, the International Day of Peace, we're excited to bring you our tribute to our changemakers working on We the World's campaign for peace. And we want to honor and hear just a few minutes from Terry Angel Miller, who is the founder of angelspeakers.com, and she is on a national tour for peace, and she is coordinator of We the World's campaign for peace. You want to speak for a few minutes, and then we'll have to close this out and get ready for our next panel with some powerful speakers who maybe you can tell us about a little bit too.
Absolutely. I hope that I'm going to be able to speak because my internet connection keeps telling me it's unstable. So hopefully you can all hear me. Just let me know, Rick, if it is coming through. Okay, great.
Yes, we can hear you. And Rick Buckley, if you can spotlight her, that would be great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, what a great morning this has been. You can imagine, as a person whose mission is peace on earth, that this has just thrilled my heart today to be here with all of you. We have upcoming at the top of the hour a beautiful panel, including Rick Olphick, Dr. Marty Casey, who has a mission called Ungun, which helps deal with healing the trauma associated with devastation and violence. And she works through the arts. So I'm sure some of you will want to check her out and what she's been doing here with that. We have Fumi John Stewart, who works with the Peace Alliance and brings forth the peace polls. And we have our Karen Palmer, who works with Peace Pals and works with our youth to spread more peace and love in the world. I want to keep this brief, but I do have something I want to read to end what I have to say. And that is from Chief Seattle. You must teach your children that the ground beneath their feet is the ashes of our grandfathers, so that they will respect the land. Tell your children that the earth is rich with the lives of our kin. Teach your children what we have taught our children, that the earth is our mother. Whatever befalls the earth, befalls the sons of the earth. If men spit upon the ground, they spit upon themselves. This we know, the earth does not belong to man. Man belongs to the earth. This we know, all things are connected, like the blood which unites one family. All things are connected. We are all one, and let's bond together to bring that message to our youth and to our world, that the peace that we want to see in the world, it has to begin inside of each one of us. Thank you all so much for what you brought today. I hope you'll be joining us at the top of the hour for this amazing peace discussion. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Terry. And people can find out more by going to we.net. You can find out about all the 11 days of Global Unity events, see the recordings, but our 11 campaigns for change go all year long. And they include economic justice, environment, women, human rights, health, the whole comprehensive blueprint for global transformation. And so we encourage everyone to get involved all year long. And I was going to ask Rick Buckley, do you want to just stop the live stream and stop the recording, and we can just stay on and then pick it up again at the top of the hour? What do you think?
It depends on recordings at your end, what Callum is doing. So I can easily stop mine.
Yeah.
Well, I can't stop the restream going out to all the networks.
You cannot stop that?
Well, I could. Yeah, I think I can do it. Yeah. Let's go ahead and do that, Rick. I'll do that.
Yeah, and then we can just stay on, and then anybody else who joins, like the other speakers, will just come back.
You got it.
To this Zoom session. Is that correct?
Yep, it's the same link. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So we might as well just do that. So thank you all.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Masterpiece. Thank you, City Transformers. Thank you, Peace Pop-Ups. Thank you, everyone, the Sign Network. This has been a beautiful grand finale, the beginning of the grand finale of 11 days of global unity. Bye for now.
And maybe we'll see you tomorrow at the after party. That would be great.